expanding. We all about being outstanding. We create content that's magic.
Hey everyone. So as you all know, I was recently at Tony Robbins' event, and he told me to go into my future and to visualize the life that I want, the house. I was visualizing the perfect body, the marriage, everything. And then suddenly I visualized myself standing on stage in front of people, and I was wearing a black dress and red shoes. Yes. So I wanted to make that goal happen. So I went the next day after the event, and I bought this black dress and these red shoes. So I thought I'll share that. So I just want to clarify, I'm not here to tell you how you can get lots of followers on LinkedIn. I'm not going to be sharing with you how you can go viral or become LinkedIn famous. Now, these are all great, and I do know the hacks of how to do that. So if you do want to know how to do that, see me after this session, and I'll be more than happy to share that with you. Also, I'm not going to be sharing with you any magic bullet or formula or something like when you wake up tomorrow, you're going to be, bam, drowning in leads. That's not what I'm going to be sharing with you. What I'm going to be sharing with you are practical and applicable tools that you can use that have worked for myself and that have worked for a lot of my clients and people that I've coached and my students. However, these tools, you need to have 3 things. Number 1, you have to have courage. Who here has courage? Yeah? I'm not going to do the hand up, Tony Robbins thing. Number 2, you have to have patience. And number 3, you have to have a relentless work ethic. Because if you don't have a relentless work ethic and you're not consistent, and when things are not going your way, if you don't continue, what I'm going to show you is not going to work either. Now, LinkedIn is one of the tools, not the only tool. So I am going to be talking to you about LinkedIn. However, I am going to be talking to you about how you can use LinkedIn to marry it with all the other sales tools. Because if we ignore all the other sales tools and we just focus on LinkedIn, then you're going to be feeling that something's not right. Like, why am I not selling as well? Also, I want you to keep in mind, everybody here is from a different industry. Everybody here is from a different industry. Every person has their own little goals. So whatever I say or whatever any of the speakers are saying tonight, I would like you to contextualize it to your situation, but also make a commitment to take action, because action, as Anthony Robbins says, knowledge without action is useless. Yeah? Okay, so what I'm going to be sharing with you are 5 tips. It was so hard for me because really I've got 87 tips. So for me to pull out the things that I thought, okay, what can I share in this 20 minutes? So I'm going to be sharing with you some of the things of what I think is important. Maybe you might be like, oh, this is not important or this is important. So I'd like to get your feedback as well. Okay, so number 1, it's not about the amount of people that see you or your content, but the right amount of people. Now, this is a bit controversial because, look, there's nothing wrong with getting a lot of followers, and I'm actually at 30,000 connections, but 18,000 of those are connections that I'm connected to. The other ones are followers, because I choose my connections really. I could have 40 and 50, but I'm choosing the connections that I want to be connected to. Doesn't mean that I don't open up my doors to people from overseas or people that I resonate with that are outside of my industry or customer focus. So let me share with you this story. I coach a lot of recruitment consultants and employment consultants, and there's a guy who I was coaching. He's from Wagga Wagga. Who knows where Wagga Wagga is? Okay, so he's an employment consultant, and he's helping unemployed people with disabilities into work. So he's got this demographic, he's got this territory that he has to serve, and he only has 500 connections on LinkedIn, and his colleague has about 4,000 connections from all around the world. Now the guy with 500 connections is killing it he's killing it in his selling, because he chooses which 4 industries do my job seekers need, do they want, and then he starts connecting strategically with the right employers in order to get those people into work. And he actually gets, because in Wagga not a lot of people were using LinkedIn, and I thought, hey, you know what? As a value add, get them on LinkedIn. Show them how to get these businesses on LinkedIn. Show them how to use LinkedIn. And some of these employers, they have 5 connections, but he's all over their feed and he's on top of mind. And let me tell you something as well. When I first started LinkedIn, I had 4,000 connections and I had a niche and I was doing better than what I am doing now in regards to people coming to me. But I thought global, I wanted my business to go global. So I took the chance and I said, you know what, think of the long term. You probably have to work harder at prospecting, getting on the phone, going out there. Because when I had 4,000 connections, they were all niched and they were coming to me. But that once it started to dilute, my pipeline started, and I don't want to talk about people like pipeline and things like that, because at the end of the day, I value every single one of my connections. So that's point number 1. Point number 2, don't just rely on LinkedIn and hide behind your computer. Who has done that? I've done it too. Like last year, I actually stopped selling because I started to get a lot of fame on LinkedIn, and I was like, oh, this is great. All these are coming. And I stopped selling because I got comfortable. I'm an introvert, by the way. So for me to get on the phone, go out, network, talk to people, that takes a lot of effort for me. So what do I mean by don't rely on LinkedIn and hide behind your computer? Who here has heard of Tony Hughes? Yeah. Okay, great. Now he wrote a book called Combo Prospecting. And in this book, he talks about how it's so important to use a combination of prospecting strategies, not just LinkedIn. He says, get on the phone. If they don't answer, leave a voicemail, then send them an email, then maybe a text message, then connect with them on LinkedIn, message them again until they give you like a firm no. And he says that then you can nurture the relationship and then follow up and then do that again. So it's important to use a combination of prospecting strategies, because I've seen people that say to me, hey Rana, I took some of the advice from some LinkedIn trainers, but I'm not getting anywhere. What's going on? And I said to them, do you understand combination prospecting? No, I don't. Do you understand touch points? Not really. Do you realize that people buy when they're ready to buy, not when you are ready to sell? So you have to be there on top of mind when they're ready to buy. And they're like, oh, okay. So I showed them how to do combo prospecting, and I'll share with you a story of my own experience for you to understand a little bit about combo prospecting. So let me put this down, and then I'll get it again. So with so last week, I closed a pretty huge deal. It was for sales training and sales coaching, like a 3-month program. And I went to my CRM and I tracked back the sale and how it all happened, because I don't have a great memory. I went back and it all started with a cold email to this guy. I sent him, he was the state manager. He sat right under the CEO. This is in employment services, my niche. And I sent him a cold email and he never responded. That's fine. I don't expect anyone to drop money, lots of money on a cold email. It was for me to plant the seed. And then I called him up. I left a message. He didn't respond. And then I left another message. He didn't respond. This is on the landline. And I got through the gatekeeper. So there's no response. I end up leaving it for a bit. And then I end up trying to connect with him on LinkedIn. He doesn't accept, and he's not very active on LinkedIn, by the way. So he logs on like maybe once a month, once every 2 months. And then what ends up happening is I call him again. I go to Zoom info. I get his mobile number. Now I'm calling his mobile. It's like, so I have to be really good. I get his attention. We have a 20-minute conversation. The conversation's amazing, but he says that he doesn't have a need. There's no problem. Fine. He ends up going and signing up with my newsletter. With my newsletter for 1 year, so this deal is 2.5 years in the making. Through this newsletter, he's so active. I actually don't know because I've got thousands of people in my email marketing. He ends up calling me last week and I end up closing him, and I did a lot of follow-ups. He ends up connecting with me on LinkedIn. He's been watching me, whatever. It's not even 20 whatever touch points. It's like 80 touch points by this point. Like 2.5 years. And let me just show you this. Once I closed the deal, I went into my MailChimp and I check him out. This is his click. Like, I didn't want to show this. I'm like, they're probably going to think I'm lying. And this is not normal, okay? Because you don't get these numbers. So it's 96.6% open rate, like 100% on both. So and I didn't know this. If I actually knew this and I followed him, I would have got him sooner, by the way. All right, so this is a little bit about combination prospecting and using LinkedIn as one of the strategies, not the only strategy as well. Okay, number 3, speak their language when you're trying to solve their problems. We all understand that we need to solve problems when we're selling. It's sales 101, yeah? Right? But how many of us really speak in the customer's language, using their specific jargon? Because what I see a lot of times is people have a niche, but then when they're on LinkedIn, they want to talk to everybody because they think, you know what, my niche is only 2%, but I want to get popular with the other 98%. So they start to ignore and I've done that before, they ignore their niche, they stop using that language of their niche, and now they're trying to sell to everybody. So what I'm trying to say here, if you really are starting off, whether you are in sales or whether you're starting a business, really have a specific niche and become the expert in that, and have a where you're able to have a peer-to-peer conversation with with the people that work in that industry. There's a term called reverse marketing. What do you think it means? I'm just curious. Reverse marketing. For those of you that don't know, you've never heard me talk about reverse marketing.
Like negative marketing that gets clients to move away instead of move closer.
Okay, so that's what it means generally, but in my niche, it actually means employer prospecting. So, in my niche, when I post sometimes photos and videos, I say the term reverse marketing, and most people think, what, does she do marketing? They don't understand, but when I post reverse marketing, the people in my niche actually start messaging me and understand that I understand their language, so I'm talking in their language. And to go further, imagine so employment services are funded by the government to help unemployed people into work, right? So they have to help a specific amount of people into work, and they've got a lot of pressure. So I can talk in the language, say, hey, employment services leaders, I get that you have a lot of pressure from the government to hit your job placement targets and to get your 13-week, your 26-week, and your 52-week sustainable outcomes. I get that your survival depends on those star ratings, but your biggest problem is you hire highly altruistic people that just want to help people, but they don't realize they have to get on the phone and sell, and they have to prospect, and they have to do reverse marketing, and you won't survive. And if you don't go above a 3 or above star, you're not going to survive. Now, a lot of people, maybe some of you understand a little bit, but it doesn't matter, because in employment services, the only people that, if I'm communicating in that way, whether it's through my content, whether it's through the emails, whether it's having a conversation, whether it's through my questions that I ask, that I understand them so intrinsically, and I understand that niche on a deeper level than just, hey, I'm a sales trainer and I can teach people prospecting, and I understand, salespeople, they have fear of getting on the phone. That's just very general. Yeah? So when you are trying to win business, speak a specific language that only a small percentage really understand. Okay? And then you can go wider. You can have 3, 4 different niches. And I tell that to salespeople. Whether they're serving, they're trying to sell a software, whatever, target an industry. Is it hospitality? Is it finance services? What is it? Number 4, who the hell are you and why should anyone care? No, seriously. Have you ever had somebody message you, they say, I do digital marketing, blah, 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 and you're thinking, I've already had another 20 people this week message me the same message. Yeah? Okay. At the end of the day, as Ahmed was saying, as Karen was saying, we need to be able to position ourselves. Now, Robert Cialdini, some of you may know him. Who knows Robert Cialdini? Okay. So Robert Cialdini, for those of you that don't know him, he studied influence in the 1980s, and he went to car dealerships, fundraising firms, and telemarketing firms, and he wanted to know what makes people influence. Why are people persuaded? So what he discovered were 6 universal principles of influence. So which one do you think I'm going to be talking about out of the 6? Take a guess. Authority, yes, exactly. Okay, so authority. And building our authority, I'm building my authority right now. It doesn't have to just happen on LinkedIn. Yes, LinkedIn, we can do videos, we can do posts, we can do content, but writing a book, you can build your authority. I built my authority even before I got on LinkedIn with employment services because people were referring me. So even getting really good at what you do, that people can say, hey, you know what, Mag is amazing. And then if you have a LinkedIn profile and they can check out your videos, that's even better. There was a guy that contacted me last year, and he came to me, and then on the discovery call, he contacted me on LinkedIn. I asked this question, I said, what compelled you to contact me? He said, I've been watching your videos on LinkedIn for a while now. I think that you are quite good, and I think my team will like you. So what did I do there? I've gone through the sales cycle like 80%. And that would have never happened years ago, by the way. So it's so lucky for LinkedIn, whether you're writing, you're producing content, that you can go like way into the sales cycle, that I was able to close him in a one call, in a B2B situation on a high ticket, like thousands of dollar sale. That is unheard of. And the last one. Okay, now the magic happens in your inbox, and this is something a lot of people forget. Some of you are producing content. I see a lot of, I see some of the influencers, people on LinkedIn that have been doing it for a while. And some of you still haven't gone into that journey. But I want to warn you, and this happened to me. I stopped selling when I stopped going into my inbox, when I stopped doing outreach, when I stopped prospecting. Because I followed some of the LinkedIn advice, and they said, oh, you're going to be like a magnet. Yeah, I was. Like, people were coming to me, but it wasn't enough to pay my rent. At the end of the day, we have to really engage and go into the inbox. Because what ends up happening is when we just start producing content and videos, you become a full-time content producer. And that's your whole job. So if you go to my LinkedIn now, you'll see that I've cut back from making videos because now I'm spending more time in my inbox. And since I started again spending time in my inbox, my sales have tripled compared to what I was getting last year. And not only in my inbox, but taking those conversations offline. So when people ask me or do any inquiries, I don't have sales conversations in my inbox. I get on the phone, or I try to get on Zoom, or I try and meet them face to face. And finally, I saw this on Anthony Robbins. I love him. So you get in life what you have the courage to ask for. So you should think about it on LinkedIn. We have to ask a lot. Don't be afraid. I'm not saying for you to spam people, but build those relationships. And yeah, have some courage, yeah?
Wow.
Thank you.